Hello viewers, this is the part 10 of the series named Mastering OEM, and in this tutorial we are going to learn about incident rules, notification and setting up email alerts in OEM 13.5. In the last couple of tutorials, we covered a lot of things on how to create your virtual learning environment on OEM using Oracle VirtualBox, starting from installation of OEM 13.5 to creating target groups. I suggest you watch the previous tutorials in this series if you want to set up your virtual learning environment in your PC for OEM and also to get a better understanding on today's tutorial. So today's main topic is about configuring incident rules, notification and alerts. As a prerequisite, we must first understand a few things like metric collection and settings, monitoring template, and the target groupings. I have explained all these areas in detail in the last tutorial. Again, if you have not watched the previous tutorial in this series, I suggest you watch that first to get a better understanding on today's tutorial. Now, let's start with the incident rules. So I logged into my OEM system as sysadmin user. Then I go to setup, incidents, incident rules. So what are incident rules? Incident rules in OEM define the rules for what action to take or how to react upon receiving various incidents on the monitored targets. For example, say a listener or a database is down, a tablespace usage percentage went above critical level or went below warning level, or an Aura 600 error has occurred in a database instance. These are all different types of incidents happening on different targets across your monitored environment, as per the settings you define in the metric and collection settings for the respective targets. Through the incident rules, you will define how the OEM will react upon receiving these incidents. For example, if your organization has two different DBA teams for production and non-production databases, then you may want to send an email alert to the production DBAs upon receiving incidents from production DB targets, or an email to non-production DBA team upon receiving incidents from the non-production database targets. You may want to send a PagerDuty alert to the production DBAs upon receiving any critical incidents from the production DB targets. You may also want to create a ticket using a third-party software like BMC Remedy or ServiceNow upon receiving any incidents and assign it to the appropriate DBA group. You may want to send an email to the DBAs upon receiving any clear incident when the underlying problem is resolved, etc. So we can achieve all these requirements using incident rules. Now when you arrive at this page, you will see that there are already two incident rules created. These are two default rules given by OEM. These rule sets are nothing but collection of one or more rules, and each of the rules does a specific thing. These default rule sets cannot be deleted or edited, but we can disable them if we want. We are not going to use the default rule sets, but will define our own as per our requirement, and once we see our custom rule sets are working fine, we can disable the default ones. Please note that the incident rule sets are executed as per their order, and also the rules inside the rule sets are executed as per the order at which they are defined. So if you have a more number of rules, OEM will go through each of them to see what action it needs to perform. So you may want to limit the number of rules only to the ones which are actually required or fulfilling your requirement. To define a rule set, we can click on this Create Rule Set button, or we have the same option under this Actions menu also, Create Rule Set. Let's click on Create Rule Set, and here we will put a simple rule set name as, say, My Prod Rule Set. So this rule set will be applicable only on production. We are keeping the description blank and it will be applied to the targets, and the enable checkbox is on by default, which means that once we create this rule set, it will be automatically enabled and it will be in effect. Now the owner will be sysadmin. It's because I logged into the OEM system as sysadmin user. So individual users of your OEM system, whoever has the admin privilege, will be able to create rule sets, but it's better to create the rule sets within one particular DBA user or the super user who is the sysadmin user here. Now the type of the rule set will be enterprise, because it is going to cover the targets across your enterprise. And you can also create a rule set of type personal notification, which will be only for a set of DBAs or a particular administrator of this OEM system. Now, in this target section, we have three options: all targets of types, and specific targets. If you select the all targets, then it will be applied to all targets. However, you have the option to filter in certain targets based on the life cycle status, like production, non-production, development, etc. And you also have the option to exclude certain targets from the list that it creates. The second option is based on the target types, where you'll be able to select certain types, and those type of target will be selected while this rule set will be applicable. And there also you have the option to filter in certain targets based on their life cycle status, like production, staging, development, etc. And you have the option to exclude certain targets from the list. But we will use the third option, that is the specific targets. Now, we have the option here to add groups or targets. And we are going to select groups here, because if you remember, in the last tutorial, we have created certain groups on listeners and database instances, and also we created parent groups as production group and non-production groups. And we are going to select that group here. So click on this add button, and it is going to give us the list of all the groups available or we have created. And from this list, we are going to select the production group. Click on the select button, and then we have this rules section. The rules are actually going to define the actions that this rule set is going to take against the incidents or the events coming from the targets. As I have used these incidents and the event word interchangeably for the last couple of minutes, let me briefly tell you about the difference between the incidents and the events. Actually, the events is the most discrete level of something, or the atomic level of something that happened to the target, and the incident is consisting of one or more events. If one incident has only one event within it, then actually there is no difference between the incident and the event. And these are nothing but different situations, like say there is a tablespace full, there is a database down, there is a SQL running for a long time. All these are different types of events or incidents, we can say. Now, within this rules section, we are going to define our first rule. And to do that, we click on this create button, and we will select this first option, incoming events and updates to events, which is going to serve our purpose the best. Click on the continue button, and here the type of this rule will be on metric alerts. There are different types available here, and you'll be able to understand all this when we go. But for now, we are going to select the metric type here, and within these two options, all events of type metric alert and specific events of type metric alert, we are going to select the first one. And under the advanced selection options, we are going to select the severity, and we are going to select the critical, warning, and clear, all these three. And there are many more other options available, like you can put more selection options here, like target type. If you want, you can specify what type of target this rule is going to be applied on, like it will be an agent type target or application deployment or beacon, database system, database instance, etc. But we are not going to use that. Also, we have other options like target lifecycle status, category associated with incident, all these things here. So for now, for the sake of simplicity, we are not going to use these options now. Click on the next button, and here now actually we are going to define the action which needs to be taken for the conditions that we just selected. So click on the add button to add our first action, and the conditions for action is always execute the actions. This first option we are going to select, and create incident or update incident. Within this section, we are going to check this checkbox, create incident if not associated with one. And the first option here, each event creates a new incident. Then we'll leave everything as it is. Go to the send notification. This is important because this is actually going to send us the email. as an alert. But we see a warning here, and that is because we have not defined any email gateway. But we are going to set it up very soon. First, let's complete the rule set creation. Now, the basic notification. Because we are defining this as a production rule, and as I mentioned earlier, I am going to send this alert to my personal email ID, which I am considering as a production DBA email ID, for example. And if we want, we can put the email ID for CC. Also, if we want, we can put a PagerDuty DL here. Then under advanced notification, nothing will be there because we have not configured any advanced notifications so far. We will cover this later on. Then the repeat notifications. This is nothing but how repeatedly you want to get a notification on the same event. So I am leaving this as it is now, and I'm not selecting to send any repeat notification at this time. Then submit corrective action. This is another good option here. So corrective actions are nothing but the actions you take against the incidents. For example, suppose there is a listener down incident and you have a corrective action job to bring up the listener whenever a listener down incident happens. Similarly, you may have a corrective action job to add a data file to a tablespace whenever there is a tablespace utilization at 90% or 100% alert comes. So we are not going to cover this at this time, but we are going to cover them later on. Then the clear events, we are keeping it as it is because OEM is pretty smart to clear the events whenever the underlying issue is resolved. And forward to event connectors. This also we are not going to select. We are just leaving it as default. Then click on the continue button. And our first action has been created. Click next. It will ask for giving a name to the rule, and we'll simply put a rule name like prod rule. Leaving the description blank. Click next, and it's giving a summary to review. Click continue, and it says that the production rule has been successfully added to the current rule set. So we see that the production rule has been added, and now we can click on the save button. Now my prod rule set, this particular rule set has been added to the other rule sets that we already had. Now we are going to create another rule set by copying the production rule set, and we have the option to clone a rule set using the create like rule set option under the actions menu. When the rule set itself is selected, we click on the create like rule set, and then we will simply recreate this rule set as non-production rule set. Everything else will be the same, except we are going to add the non-production group here and remove the production. So we'll select the non-production group and we will remove the production group. Similarly, we will edit the rule and we will click next because we are not going to make any change here. But in the actions, we will click on the edit button again, and in this email I am putting my another personal email ID, which at the moment I am considering as the email ID of the non-production DBAs. Everything else will remain the same. Then we will click on the continue button, click next, and we will change the name of the rule to non-prod rule. Click next, click continue, and just to review one more time, this is our non-production rule set, and we click on the save button. Now we have two rule sets created, my production rule set and my non-production rule set. Now we can disable the default rules which were given to us by OEM. So select the first one, then go to the actions menu, click on the disable button, and similarly select the second one, go to the actions, select the disable option, and both the default rule sets are now disabled. Only the ones that we created are enable now. Now we are going to test our rule set. First, we will test our non-production rule set. So we will go to our all targets, and from there we are going to the two database targets that we have. And if you remember, the ORCL1, this particular database instance, we are considering as our non-production database target, and the OEM repo we are considering as our production database target. So to create a critical or warning alert, let's take the tablespace example. Now, if we go to the monitoring and metric and collection settings of the ORCL1 database, we see that the tablespace thresholds for the warning is at 85 and the critical is at 95, and the frequency to check this out is every 15 minutes. So let's reduce it so we get a more frequent checks on the tablespace alerts, so we don't have to wait for a long time just to test it. I will put it as 1 minute. Click continue. It will complain that the repeat interval is very low, but we are okay with this for just testing purpose, and click OK again. And now let's go back to our ORCL1 databases tablespace usage summary. When the database instance is selected, we will go to the administration tab, then go to storage and tablespaces. If you see that none of these tablespaces are close to the warning and critical thresholds that we set in the collection settings. Now, for this particular system tablespace has auto extend switched off. This is required because if the auto extensible is on, then OEM will not consider it as a incident even if it reaches 99%. The reason is, for auto extensible tablespaces, the data file will be extended automatically whenever required. So that's the reason OEM will never trigger an alert. And I have turned this auto extensible off for this system tablespace just for demonstration purpose. Now, to trigger the alert for the system tablespace, even with a 45% utilization, we have to go back to the monitoring and metric and collection settings for the tablespace, and we have to lower this value to something so that it triggers an alert. So we will put a percentage value of 40% for the warning, and we will save it. So within 1 minute, we should be receiving one warning incident for this particular database. We saved it, and then we will go to the monitoring and incident manager for this ORCL1 database, and yes, we see that there is one incident already present under the all open incidents option. Now if you click on that, it will give us more details below. Let's drag it a little, and we see that a lot of details are available, like when it happened and what particular event has caused that to happen and what is the category. Everything you need to know about this event or the incident is there. Now you go to the Events tab, and under Events tab you see the latest event section. You click on this message, that is tablespace system is 45.69% full. You click on that, and that will give us all the events associated with this particular incident. Now you see that this has a lot of information there, and if you see the last comment in this particular area, it has logged something here like failed to send email, which is obvious because we have not configured the SMTP server here. It was not able to send the email to this particular email ID, and the rule name was my non-prod rule set. Under this rule set, that is the non-prod rule. So everything else is as expected. If you see, the only problem here is it is not able to send the email, which we are going to fix very soon. Now what we are going to do to clear this event, we will go back to our database targets, metric collection setting, and we will adjust the warning level so that the incident is cleared. So the moment we put it 85, within 1 minute of that, this rule set will again evaluate the tablespace utilization and it's going to clear the event. Let's go to the monitoring and incident manager for the ORCL1 database again, and we see that under all open incidents there is nothing now. It means the underlying incident or the event was cleared. Now let's set the SMTP server for our OEM system so we'll be able to receive the email alerts. To configure the emails or the SMTP server, we will go to setup and then go to notifications and mail servers. And here you have to put a sender's identity here first. Say whenever a mail will come from your OEM system, who that will be identified as. So you can put a name there, identify sender as anything you can put which will be helpful to identify the source of the email. I am putting here OEM 13.5 and the sender's email address. This is nothing but the email address of your server where your OEM is hosted. But if this is your learning environment, your server may not have an email ID because you don't have an email server. In that case, we are going to use our personal email ID as the sender because we have to put a valid email address here. Then click OK. In the next section, that is the outgoing mail or SMTP servers, we will click to add the Yahoo SMTP server here, which is smtp.mail.yahoo.com. You can also put the Google SMTP server, but Google is a little more restrictive in allowing to configure their SMTP server with the third-party applications. But Yahoo SMTP server is quite easy to be added with the third-party applications like this. So I am using the Yahoo SMTP server. If you don't have a Yahoo email, you can just open one email for free and you'll be able to test it properly if you face any difficulty in configuring the Google SMTP server. So the port will be 465 and the username will be your Yahoo account's username, and the password. This is most important because it is not exactly the password that is used for your Yahoo account. In fact, you have to use something called an application password, which is given by Yahoo if their SMTP server is configured with any third-party application. To do that, I will go to my Yahoo Mail, and once we are in the Yahoo Mail, click on the account info under your account. It will ask to log in. Log in with your usual username and password to your Yahoo account. Then go to the account security and scroll down and go to this section where you get this option, generate and manage app passwords. Click on that link, and here you can give a name to the application that you are using. Say I am giving it a name as OEM, and click on the generate password button, and this will give you a password which is just for one time, and once you use this password, this is of no use. I just copied the password and click on the done button. We will go back to our OEM and we will put the password there, confirm the password, and the secure connection will be the SSL/TLS option here, and click on the OK button. Once these settings are done, you click on the test mail server to test your configuration. If it is successful, then your SMTP server configuration using the Yahoo Mail has been successful. And you can see that the smtp.mail.yahoo.com at 465 test succeeded, means your email configuration is done. Again, we are using this Yahoo SMTP server because we don't have a mail server here, but when you work for a company or an organization, they will have their own SMTP server or email domain, and you can get that information from your messaging team or the email team. Now that our SMTP mail configuration has been done, now for every incident happening, we should be able to receive our alerts. To do that, next we are going to take our production rule set as an example. So we go back to our targets, all targets, and if you remember the OEM repo, this is our production target, as we considered it as our production target and added to our production group. Now we will right click on our OEM repo database target. Under that, go to Oracle database, go to monitoring, metric and collection settings. And we will take the same tablespace example here also. We will lower the tablespace utilization to something like say 50%, and we'll set the frequency to say 1 minute so that we don't have to wait for 15 minutes to get an alert. Click on the continue button. It complains repeat interval is very low. We are okay with that and click on continue and click OK. Now it takes a couple of seconds to save the settings. Then we will go to administration, storage and tablespace, and let's see what all are the tablespaces available. We will log in as system user. And we see that all these tablespaces are with auto extend on, so we are not going to receive any alerts. So what we will do, let's take any of the tablespaces and we will just switch the auto extend off. Let's take the users tablespace, click on the edit button, and it has just one data file. Click on the edit button again. We will switch off the auto extend on, and now let's see if the tablespace utilization has crossed our warning level. And tablespace users has been modified successfully. Let's go back to the tablespace list, and for users, let's see, now it is 53%. So it means we are likely to receive one warning alert because we have set the threshold for warning at 50%. So it has crossed that threshold, and now we will go to monitoring and the incident manager for this OEM repo database, and we'll check on all open incidents. And yes, we are able to see one warning incident has been logged. Now if we click on that, then it gives us the details. Go to the events tab and click on the message that says the user's tablespace utilization, and under this we go to the last comment. We see that the email sent to my personal email ID, which I considered as the production DBAs email ID, and the rule set this time was my prod rule set, and the rule was prod rule. So everything is working as expected. If you want to get more discrete level of the actions taken, you can click on this notification, and there you'll be able to see that at what time what action was taken. So the first action was taken at 5:59, which was the following notification will be sent to one email with one recipient, and at 6:00 it actually sent the email. Now we will go back and see if actually we have received an email. And here, when I logged into my personal email, I can see that at the topmost there is an email at 6 p.m. and if I click on that, I get all the details from the host, the target type, the target name, that is OEM repo. It's categorized as the capacity related alert, and most importantly, at the top line itself, we are able to see that the tablespace users is 53.75% full. This is our alert. So we are able to receive our alert in our email. Now we are going to clear this email alert. So we will raise our warning threshold to a limit so that OEM will consider that the underlying issue has been resolved. To do that, we will again go back to our targets, right click on the OEM repo, Oracle database, monitoring, metric and collection settings, and we will go to tablespace full section. We will increase it to its original value as 85, and also we will increase the critical value for 95. Click OK, and let's keep checking our email. We should be receiving one email saying that the table space warning has been cleared. Let's refresh it. Yes, we just received it, which says that the EM event is clear. This particular table space is now under normal utilization. It is clear. Now let's trigger one critical alert for the production target. To do that, let's go back to the tablespace list of our production database named OEM repo, where our test tablespace is the user's tablespace. Now you see that the maximum space utilization of the tablespace is at 53.75%. So we have to lower the threshold in the metric and collection settings accordingly, so this utilization crosses the threshold. So we will go back to the metric and collection settings for the database target, and we will lower the critical threshold to 50 and the warning threshold to 40, and the collection interval is every 1 minute already, and save the settings, which will take a few seconds. Now it is saved, and we will go back to the incident manager page of the database, and as expected, we are able to see one critical incident here for the tablespace utilization, which is at 53.75%, and severity is critical. Then select the incident line to get the detailed page below, then go to the events tab, then click on the messages to get all the details about the event. Click on the notification tab, where we can see that the latest events is about sending an email to my personal email ID, which we are considering as our production DBAs email ID for this demonstration, and the rule, that is production rule, under my production rule set is responsible for taking this action. And now we should be able to see one email with critical alert in my personal email. And yes, we see at the top of my inbox there is an alert email that came just now at 9:12 p.m. and we see the details about the alert in the email body. Now we will clear this alert by increasing the thresholds that we decreased before in the metric and collection settings. We will go back to the metric and collection settings of both the databases, and then we will reset the tablespace utilization thresholds to their original values. Now we are going to test our rule sets against another type of event called target availability type events. As we already have groups of database instance and listeners in both the production and non-production areas, and the rules are applied on the groups through their parent groups. So we will bring down one listener and see if we receive a corresponding alert for the listener down event. So we have this group named non-production listener, which has just one listener under it. We select the line and then click on the edit button. We see the listener named listener, which is actually in the machine named VM Linux 1. To bring the listener down, I will connect to the machine named VM Linux 1 using Oracle user. We see that the OS process for the listener named listener is up. We will bring it down by using the lsnrctl stop listener command. So the listener is down now. To check the status of the listener in OEM, let's go to the all targets first, then click on the listener to go to its home page, where we see that the listener status is shown as up. Let's refresh the page a couple of times so the latest status of the listener is shown, and now we see that the listener down status is shown with a red down arrow. Now let's check if we have received the corresponding listener down incident or not by going to the incident manager page of the listener, and under these sections we click each of them to see if there is an incident. And here we see the listener down event under the events without incident section. So it is an event without an incident. So what does it mean? To find out, let's select the line, go to the details below, then go to the notifications tab, and here we don't see any data, no notification, no action. So why it is like that? It's because none of our rules or rule sets are configured to capture these kind of events. If you remember, our rule sets are capable of handling only metric type events, but not target availability type events. So we will have to make necessary changes to our rules within the rule sets so they become capable of handling the target availability type events also. To do that, we will bring the listener up first, and then we will bring it down again after making necessary changes to our incident rule sets. So we will use lsnrctl start listener command again to bring the listener up, and the listener is up now. Now if we refresh the home page of the listener in OEM a couple of times, the status will be shown up with a green up arrow after a few seconds. Now let's go back to our incident rules and make necessary changes that we just discussed. As we are going to take the non-production listener for demonstration, let's take the rule set named my non-prod rule set first. Click on the edit button. Now here in the rules section, we have to add a new rule which will be applicable on target availability type events. So click on the create button first, select the first option and click continue, and under this type we will select target availability as type. The first option, all events of type target availability, will be selected. Now expand the advanced section option, and under that select severity, where we see a few more options available now than the severity options available for metric type events. So there we will select fatal, critical, warning, and clear. We will ignore the informational and advisory options for now, and also we will be able to see under which severity the target down event falls. So click next, and in this page we will add the action for the rule. Click on the add button, select the first option that says always execute the actions, then check this checkbox to create an incident, and each event creates a new incident. Then scroll down, and then the email. I will put my personal email ID here, which we have considered as the non-production DBAs email ID, and rest all the options we will leave with their default settings or no settings at all. Click on the continue button, and here we see that the action for the target availability type event has been set. Click continue button, and we will give a name of the rule as non-prod target availability. Keeping the description blank, click next, then click continue, and a new rule named non-prod target availability has been added to the rule set. We will save it, and our non-production rule set has been modified. Now we will add the same rule to our production rule set also. Select the line with the production rule set, click on the edit button, go to the rules section, click on the create button, select the first option, select the type as target availability from the drop down. Then select this all events of type target availability option, and the severity will be fatal, critical, warning, and clear. Click next button. Press add button to add the action against this rule. Select always execute the actions, then create an incident, this option. Each event creates a new incident, and for the production email ID, I will use my other personal email ID that I am considering as the production DBA's email ID, leaving all the other options as it is, and then click continue. And name of the rule will be production target availability. Click next, continue, a new rule has been added, and then click Save. Now, both our rule sets have been added with one extra rule each to capture target availability type events. Now we are going to bring our non-production listener down again to see if we receive an email about the listener down event at our non-production DBAs email ID. Let's go back to our SSH session to the server named VM Linux 1 and bring down the listener using ls-nrctl stop listener. Let's go to the home page of the listener and refresh the page a couple of times so the latest status of the listener is displayed. And yes, it is shown as down now. Now let's go to the incident manager's page for the listener. And this time, under all open incidents section, we are able to see the listener down incident is logged. Now let's go to its details and see if it was able to send a notification about the incident. Click on the Events tab, then click on the message, and here in the last comment it says the email was sent to the non-production DBA email that we designated for the purpose, which was done by the non-production target availability rule under the My Non-Production rule set. Now let's go to my personal emails inbox, where in the top of the inbox I can see there is a listener down alert email. Click on that and we have all the details about the event. Now we will bring the listener up and we'll see if we are able to receive a corresponding clear email alert. Let's go back to the SSH session to the server and execute the ls-nrctl start listener command. And the ls-nrctl status listener shows that the listener status is now up. Let's go to the incident manager's page again for the listener, where it still says that it is down. Let's refresh the page again. Now it says that the listener is up, and we can also see that the listener down incident, which was previously logged under this all open incidents section, is now gone. Now let's see if we have actually received one clear email alert. And yes, at the top of my inbox I can see there's a clear email alert saying the listener is up. Now both our tests have been completed successfully. Now you have learned how to create incident rule sets, incident rules under them, and how to apply the incident rules on target groups, and the benefit of using target groups and the group hierarchy, etc., where there is a parent group. Now, if in the future new database or listener targets are promoted in your OEM system, all you need to do is to add those targets to the appropriate group and the rules will be automatically applied to them. For demonstration purpose, I have added only 2 target groups like instance and the listener groups here in both production and non-production areas. But in your case, you may have many groups such as EM agents, DB hosts, Golden Gate processes, Exadata machines, ASM instances, etc. In that case, you have to create new target groups and add the targets to the appropriate groups. Unless you have a specific requirement, the rule that I have demonstrated will work great in most of the cases. So viewers, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. Please hit the like button if you liked it and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss an episode in this series for the Oracle DBAs or similar educational videos that I am uploading every week.